Our second to last philosopher is a man known as H.P. Grice, right? 1913 to 1988. And he is, I don't want to say so much the author, but one of the major proponents of what's known as the intentionalist theory of meaning. The intentionalist theory of meaning is something of a middle ground between Wittgenstein's later nominalism and linguistic realism. Meaning is linguistic realism in Frege's understanding of sense theory of meaning. Right? So, for the intentionalist theory of meaning, meaning is a matter of what the speaker intends in uttering a sentence. Right? So, what is intended can be meant to what is intended to be meant can extend beyond what is directly stated. Right? This allows for the more various and poetic uses of language, right? But functionally, it's the meaning of use and direct reference. Right? We can directly refer to something, but our use of language is more fluid and vast than just directly referring. So I wouldn't say it's an attempt to reconciliate, but it's an attempt to acknowledge the strengths and weaknesses of the previous two theories we've discussed. We're not really going to spend a whole lot of time on it because it's a particularly complex theory, but I do want to focus on one thing that Grice's own theory is good for, and that's and something that has been a focus of philosophy of language for a good number of decades since. And that is the distinction between saying something and implying something. Right? So when we say something, we are directly expressing or directly asserting something. When we imply something, we're making use of language in a way that the majority of meaning, or at least an important part of it, goes beyond what is actually expressed in words. Right? An example would be, I'm doing better. Right? If you asked me, how are you doing? And I said, I'm doing better, what I've directly stated is, I'm doing better. Right? What's implied in that is where the real meat of the meaning is. Right? And that's, I was not doing well. I was not doing well, and now comparatively, I am doing better. Right? So what's directly asserted only makes sense in the context of what's implied by it. In this case, so even if you want to say that the majority of meaning is in what is said, it can only have that meaning because of what's implied, right, by what is said. Right? What goes unspoken informs what is spoken. A second example would be a completely metaphorical use of meaning. Caesar is Rome. Right? This was one of the statements in Brutus made to himself in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Right? This makes absolutely no sense when taken literally, right? If you look at just what's said, it's nonsensical in the extreme. Because to say Caesar is Rome is to say a person is a place. What? No, that doesn't work at all. So you have to understand it as being an implication, right? As being metaphorical in nature, right? Oh, what's being said on that context is that there is no political power, right? No Rome without Caesar, right? They are one and the same in the minds of the people, right? If there were no Caesar, there would be no Rome as the people know it. So to conceive of Rome without Caesar, right, is to not think of is to think of a fallen Rome. Right. So it's an important feature of language. Again, it goes back to this question of how do words mean things, right? Because in this case, what's being referred to is not real entities or facts of the matter. It's all implication, and there's still meaning within implication, which does seem to undercut the idea of the direct reference theory. Right? Poetic uses of language often do.